Today I'm sharing the 3 things I do when I am overwhelmed by the things or the situations I don't have any control over. I love to fix things in life. I love to make things better. I love to bring people back together. But a lot of the time, things will happen in life that are completely out of my control. And maybe you've experienced this, where there's a situation, maybe it's a personal situation, and how the other person is perceiving the situation is completely out of your control. Maybe it's something more global. There's something kind of looming in your mind that's really bothering you, but you don't have any control. You don't have agency to change the world in that case, or the other person if it's something between you and someone else. And so it's really easy to start to feel overwhelmed and stuck. At least that's typically my experience. I get down. I get everything feels heavy and cloudy and confusing. And I'll start to ruminate and I'll start to overthink and play the what if, the should have, and the would have game, spending at time hours in my mind trying to figure out if I had said this differently, or maybe if I could just tell this person this, or I could just figure out why they're upset, or I could just figure out why they did XYZ. And we can really start to beat ourselves up in these scenarios and just completely flood ourselves emotionally and get to a point where we feel really awful because we're trying so hard to have some sort of control over a situation that we just don't have any agency over. And I don't like that feeling. And maybe you don't like that feeling either. So I want to share with you today 3 things that I do when I'm feeling this. And spoiler alert, there's a situation in my life where I'm actively feeling this way. I really want to fix this situation. I really want to change this situation, but I don't have control over the other person. Obviously, I only have control over myself in this situation, so I can't change it. So instead, I'm having to accept the situation. And these are the 3 things I use that help me sit in that place of acceptance when I start to get really overwhelmed and I start ruminating on the past and overthinking everything. My first go-to when there is an issue between me and another person and there's nothing I can do, there's no action for me to take to make the situation better, is I pray for them. And I've told a couple of people this recently, and I'll get a little bit of pushback like, what? You want me to pray for this person that hurt me? You want me to pray for this person that I really don't like? You want me to pray for this person that doesn't like me? And the answer is yes. And there's a few reasons for this. One, I believe that the energy we put out into the world is really important. And when we are putting a higher vibration, when we are putting kindness out into the world, even if it doesn't change the relationship you have with this person that maybe you've had a rupture with, you have some kind of tension between, even if it doesn't affect that, putting kindness into the world has a ripple effect and it's going to affect something. The other thing is, when you pray for someone and you wish them well and those words come out of your mouth, you start to change your mind about them. You start to see this person in a kinder light. And then the other thing that I love about this, and this might sound a little silly, but if you're overthinking something, a situation, and this person is always on your mind, and you make yourself pray for them whenever they pop into your head, you might stop thinking about them as much because chances are, if you really don't care for them, you might not want to pray for them. So it kind of can have a little inverse effect where it might help you think about them less. So, what I do when I pray for someone who I have a weird relationship with, some stuff has happened, maybe there's forgiveness that needs to happen there on my side or on theirs, is I will say a very simple prayer. I'll say, Dear God, please help insert that person's name come to know the truth, or please help them find healing. And I will wish them well. It's that simple. When they pop into my mind and I start to have an emotional reaction, I start to feel some kind of way, maybe some hurt comes up, I will say a quick prayer. Dear God, please help them find peace. Please help them find healing. Please help them find whatever it is they're looking for. It immediately offloads it from my mind when I do this. It's just kind of like if you were to unscrew, if you ever had a pressure cooker and you release the valve and the steam comes out, that's what it feels like in my body when I pray for someone I have a complicated relationship with or there's some sort of issue between us. Now, the second thing I do, which you've probably heard me harp on before, is I meditate. And I do a pretty specific meditation for this. It's kind of a somatic check in. So if this person or this situation comes into my mind, I will take a few minutes and I'll sit down and I will notice what I'm feeling in my body. Because normally for me, when I start to feel overwhelmed or I'm overthinking or I'm ruminating, I get this kind of jittery, shaky kind of feeling in my core, like below my sternum, above my belly button, that area. I just feel uneasy. I feel like something's just kind of vibrating inside of me. So I'll notice that sensation and I'll say out loud what I'm feeling. Like, I feel the sensation inside of me. It's like this agitation, this vibration. If there's a color associated with it, I'll say that and I'll describe the sensation. And then if a word comes to mind to, further describe the emotion, I'll say that out loud. So maybe it's, I'm feeling anxious about this. I'm frustrated about this. I'm hurt about this. And I'll say that out loud. And what you're doing when you do this, and what I'm doing when I do this, is I'm acknowledging the emotion that's coming up inside of me instead of trying to suppress it and push it away. Because a lot of times when there's something going on between us and another person, or maybe a larger situation, we don't really want to experience the feeling because it's not a great situation, right? It doesn't feel good. But by pushing the feeling away and refusing to experience the feeling, we're not making that sensation go away. We're just pushing it away for a little while, right? It's still there. It has to be felt at some point, and then it can start to build up. So it starts to feel more and more overwhelming to even think or feel into this whole thing because now it's huge, right? Because there's been days of just pushing the feeling away, pushing the feeling away. So by sitting in this meditation and noticing that sensation in your body and identifying the name of the emotion when it comes up, can allow your body to metabolize that emotion so that it doesn't have to continue to sit with you and linger for the rest of the day. Now, after you've noticed the sensation, you've named the emotion, the next part of this meditation that I like to do is I'll physically take my hand to that area sometimes, like where I'm feeling. Again, I said for me, it's normally above my belly button, below my sternum. I'll put my hand there and just take some slow, deep breaths. Just slow breathing, really letting myself sink down and my body to get heavier and kind of sink into or lean back against whatever I'm sitting on. And then after I take a few breaths, I like to remind myself of a better feeling, like I am safe, I am okay, I can choose peace. Whatever comes to mind, I'll kind of let that mantra form for me. But just as a little point of grounding, right? So you're breathing into wherever that sensation is, placing your hands on your body, and then just giving yourself a different thought. You're giving yourself a mantra. You're giving yourself something else to focus on after you've allowed time to feel that emotion. And this will take me 5 minutes, maybe up to 10 minutes. Now, the third thing I do when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm overthinking, I'm ruminating, I'm really stuck on a feeling that I can't seem to shake because of a situation, is I get back into my body because I run away into my mind a lot. I will hyperfixate on something, or I will try to work out a different way this scenario could play out, or maybe if I know this information or if I do this, I can change it. Because again, it's just this grasping for control. And I want to call it out because if you do this, and yes, I do this, that need for control, that need for closure is coming from a place of fear. And so this is kind of a side note, then we'll get back to number three. But fear is driving that. Fear is driving that behavior. Whenever we feel an emotion that's really uncomfortable, that we can't seem to shake, that's bothering us, it's rooted in fear. So getting curious about what you're afraid of can be really helpful. So this was a little bonus step. Get curious about what you're afraid of. You can journal about that. Pen to paper is great, that hand to heart connection, instead of just thinking through it, because the goal is to get out of our head. So journal about it. Don't just talk about it. Okay, back to number 3. I get into my body. This is the biggest just release for me when I'm in my head, is to do something physical, something where I will sweat. So that could be going to the gym and lifting weights. That really pumps me up. I feel good. I'm back in my body. Sometimes I'll turn on my favorite song and I will dance through my living room and my kitchen. Sometimes I'll just go for a walk. I won't turn on a podcast. I'll just go walk. So those things really help me recenter. And you're doing one activity, which is good when you're stuck in your mind. I remember when I was going through a divorce, I developed what I called my healthy distraction tools, which were ways I would distract myself when I felt like my brain was overwhelming me and kind of beating me up with all the thoughts. And for me, the rule of healthy distraction is no screen could be involved. So I have to do something like with my hands and fine motor skills, or I could go to the gym and work out. But one thing I did then was puzzles. And if you ever see me doing a puzzle, it's probably because I'm overwhelmed or sad, because I'm not typically someone who likes to do puzzles, but it's using those fine motor skills. So if you're someone who getting into your body, like going to the gym, you're like, that's not my thing. I don't like it. I don't want to do yoga. I don't want to dance in my kitchen. I don't want to go for a walk. I encourage you to do something like a puzzle or color. Do something where you're still using your body and you're focusing your mind on one thing, because that will help with the overwhelming thoughts. In full transparency, today's podcast was not going to be about this, but this is something that's very real for me right now. This is something that I'm dealing with right now, with a situation that I desperately want to change, but I don't have control over, because the only thing I have control over in this situation is myself and how I respond. And so instead of getting stuck in my head or feeling this jitteriness of emotions, I'm going back to what I know. I'm praying for the other person, I'm doing my meditation, and I'm getting back into my body. So I hope you'll try these things if you're feeling this, and I hope you'll tell me if it helps. I would love to hear from you. If you're still a little confused about the meditation, then go to the show notes and download my Feel to Heal starter kit. You'll get a quick guide and a recorded meditation that will walk you through essentially what I do when I'm feeling overwhelmed by emotions and I need to allow my body to really metabolize what it is that I'm feeling. And remember, at the end of the day, the only thing you have control over is you. So make sure you're taking care of yourself. And I want to end with a serenity prayer, because if you're having a hard time praying for the other person, this is a great prayer to say. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I hope you have a great week, and I hope you choose growth.